What do you mean? Well, no. What do you mean Daft Punk canceled? No, I've got all these people coming on to the yacht this weekend, and we've got to have some kind of entertainment. I don't know. Try Diplo. Try that Zayn Malik guy. It's not like he's doing anything right now. Oh, wait. Listen. I'm gonna have to call you back. Yeah, just figure something out. Hey, you've just interrupted me making my plans for the weekend. I'm not quite sure who let you in, but as long as you're here, I guess we might as well go ahead and do another edition of Quotes of the Week. So, what's been going on this week? Well, pretty much the same thing that's been going on for the last 4 years. And even though we've been talking about it in Quotes of the Week, and the media is starting to talk about it more and more, the problem just keeps getting worse and worse. And of course, what I'm talking about is the never-ending stream of refugees trying to escape the Syrian civil war that started way back in 2011. Now, a photograph was released this week that has gotten a lot of attention. It is disturbing, and I'm going to go ahead and show it to you now, because it's kind of putting a new level of tragedy on this particular situation. And it's a photograph of a 3-year-old Syrian boy whose body washed up on a beach in Turkey this week. That and his 5-year-old brother. It's been all over newspapers around the world, and it seems like perhaps we've reached a tipping point where people are now starting to demand their governments do more to try to help this particular situation. It's controversial. We've been talking about that. I'm going to show you now NBC News coverage of this from Wednesday night.
Good evening. It's rare that we have to warn you right from the top of the newscast about what you're about to see, but the photo we're going to show you has quickly resonated across the world as a heartbreaking symbol of an utter human catastrophe that we can't close our eyes to. It is the image of a lifeless child in the arms of a rescuer on a Turkish beach, one of the thousands of migrants and refugees from the war-torn Middle East and Africa who have perished in a desperate attempt to find a new life in Europe. But even for those who survive, a rude awakening awaits in countries that are moving to close their doors. NBC's Kelly QOWSep4 has the story.
It's been days. Desperate families stranded outside a train station in Budapest. No answers, no help, nowhere to go.
Imagine yourself in our place. You are a human. We are a human. You have kids. We have kids.
Hundreds are stuck here. The Hungarian government refusing to let them board trains out of the country. Shireen Mamo walked here with her children. Her brother made it to Germany. She's now alone, feeling helpless and hopeless. Europe is a continent in crisis. A warning, this disturbing image shows how bad it has become. The body of one small boy, cradled in a Turkish police officer's arms. He was from Kobani in Syria. His boat sank last night on the way to Greece. And the Mediterranean keeps claiming lives, with 17 more bodies appearing on Libya's shores. More than 100 feared dead in that sinking. These are the fortunate ones, saved by the Norwegian Coast Guard today. On dry land, Austrian police stopped this truck on the way to Vienna, freeing 24 teenagers welded in with no air. And in France, the high-speed train from Paris to London ground to a halt after migrants tried to climb on top. Here in London, hundreds of passengers were left stranded as the morning trains were canceled, while on the other side of the English Channel, 2 trains had to turn back because the tracks were blocked. Some passengers even asked to listen for footsteps on the roof of the train. Tonight, the leaders of Germany, Italy, and France are calling on all 28 EU nations to take in their, quote, fair share of refugees.
We just need the politicians to listen to their hearts, act like human beings.
While European leaders argue over what to do, hundreds in Hungary are spending another cold night on the concrete in limbo. Kelly QOWSep4, NBC News, London.
Now, since that Syrian civil war began 4 years ago, our country's only taken in 1,434 refugees. International Rescue Committee says the United States should take in 65,000 before the end of next year. That's what they'd like us to do. The president called German Chancellor Angela Merkel last week to thank her for welcoming more refugees to Germany. Hadn't said anything about any increased role for the United States in this ongoing crisis. Instead, the president traveled to Alaska this week, where he was trying to raise awareness on another very controversial, complicated topic, the topic of climate change. You see the president there standing with a receding glacier in the background, Exit Glacier, which receded 187 feet just last year. And while the president was there, he said what that particular receding glacier indicates, because of the changing patterns of winter, less snow, and longer, hotter summers, is how rapidly the glacier is receding. It sends a message. He continued, "We want to make sure that our grandkids can see this as good as a signpost of what we're dealing with when it comes to climate change as just about anything." But actually, an even more stark image is the one taken from Air Force One, the one you can see there on the screen. It shows Kivalina, a town of 400 people that is basically slowly washing away. It's been suffering massive coastal erosion in recent years as the sea levels rise as a result of climate change. It's an 8-mile gravel spit, and it is slowly but surely disappearing. Well, the president did some sightseeing, posted lots of photographs on Instagram of what he saw while he was in Alaska. He also renamed a mountain, and in the process angered some people in the great state of Ohio. Mount McKinley, the tallest in North America at 20,237 feet, shall forever now be called Denali, as it was originally known by Alaska natives before it was renamed by our federal government in honor of former president and Ohio native William McKinley. Now, the Alaskan state legislature have been pushing for this renaming to Denali, which translates to the Great One, ever since 1975. Lawmakers from the state of Ohio have been trying to block that. And this week, those Ohio lawmakers lost. So it's Alaska 1, Ohio 0. Unless when it comes to college football, where Ohio definitely has bragging rights. The college season started Thursday night. After winning last season's national championship, Ohio State is atop both the Associated Press and the USA Today coaches' polls. Everyone's excited about the return of football, whether it be high school football, college football. The NFL will be back as well. And while we love football, we have to remember that it's a very dangerous game. And if we do start to forget that, there's a movie coming out during this holiday season that's going to remind us of that very fact, of the dangers associated with this particular sport. The trailer was released this week. I'm going to show you the trailer now for the film that's simply called Concussion.
When I was a boy, heaven was here, and America was here. You could be anything, you could do anything. I am the wrong person to have discovered this.
If you don't speak for them, who will?
I found a disease that no one has ever seen. Repetitive head trauma chokes the brain.
The NFL does not want to talk to you. You turned on the lights and gave their biggest boogeyman a name.
You're going to war with a corporation that owns a day of the week.
No proof was presented today because there simply isn't any.
They have to listen to us. This is bigger than they are.
What do you think they're doing to you now? That's nothing. You have no idea how bad this could get.
I have to keep going.
They want you to say you made it all up. If they continue to deny my work, men continue to die. Sometimes in life, you're asked to leave it alone. But sometimes you can't.
Who are you? Tell the truth. Tell the
the truth.
In that trailer, we saw Will Smith playing the part of Bennett Omalu, the real Pittsburgh forensic pathologist who discovered the neurodegenerative disease called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, in the brains of football players. CTE is the result of repeated brain trauma over time. It can cause depression, dementia, and other behavioral changes. Emails released when Sony was hacked last November show that the NFL put pressure on Sony to change the script of concussion. Data from the nation's largest brain bank focused on those traumatic brain injuries found evidence of a degenerative brain disease in 76 of the 79 former NFL players that were examined. There was a class action lawsuit settled this past spring, you may have noticed this, involving thousands of former players. NFL agreed to pay up to $5 million to each retired player for serious medical conditions associated with repeated head trauma. Kansas City Chief, former player Javon Belcher, shot and killed his girlfriend before killing himself 2 years ago. Pathology reports show that he likely suffered from CTE, and one of the men inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame just last month, Junior Seau, committed suicide at the age of 43 in 2012 and was later found to have had a degenerative brain condition linked to repeated hits to the head. So certainly you can still support football, but be aware of the dangers involved, and hopefully we can find some way to make the game just a bit safer. From football now to rugby. The Rugby World Cup begins in just about 2 weeks. New Zealand, you see they're doing one of their traditional Maori pregame rituals, the haka. They're the favorites. Now, why am I telling you about the Rugby World Cup and New Zealand's team? Maybe hard to see, but on their uniforms, on their jerseys, there is a silver fern logo. And that logo may become part of the country's new flag. New Zealand's Prime Minister, you're looking at the current flag, he's been trying to change it for a while. Says the inclusion of the British Union Jack that's there in the corner is just a constant reminder of the fact that New Zealand was once a British colony. So the 4 finalists for a potential new New Zealand flag were unveiled this week. You see them there. They're all rather ferny. New Zealanders are going to go to the polls twice. So the first vote later this year will determine which of those 4 new designs is going to square off against the old flag in the final vote next March. So here's what it boils down to for the people of New Zealand. Do they prefer being reminded that Great Britain used to own them, or do they prefer silver ferns? See silver fern in black and white, a silver fern in white with some red and blue, and the last one there, a silver fern with black, blue, and red stars. And that loopy looking thing is a Maori symbol of, that's right, you guessed it, a silver fern. So we'll see what they decide. Enough silver fern talk. How about a sheep emergency? There's a lot of sheep in New Zealand's neighbor nation, Australia. Not as many as in New Zealand, but still, Australia has a lot. Anyway, a merino sheep, 4 to 5 times its normal size, was found by a hiker near the Australian capital city of Canberra this week. Sheep can develop serious health problems if they are not shorn regularly. Maybe you didn't know that. This is one of your sheep facts of the week. The hiker named the sheep Chris, believed to have wandered away, gone rogue 5 or 6 years ago, disappeared from its flock, so therefore has not been able to get its shearing. When the hiker then contacted some authorities and they were able to capture Chris, the sheep, and couldn't have been too terribly difficult. They called in an expert. 4-time Australian national shearing champion Ian Elkins was called in to do what he described as one of his biggest challenges yet. He ended up removing 89 pounds of wool. Chris was carrying an extra 89 pounds as a result of not having his hair cut for so long. Now, you may have noticed something there in Ian Elkins' title, that of Australian National Shearing Champion. Yeah, that's a thing. Shearing championships. But the most prestigious one is not in Australia. It's in New Zealand, which is approximately 30 million sheep. Sheep outnumber people in New Zealand by a ratio of 6-1. If you have never seen footage of a shearing championships, you're in for a treat now. Let's check out the highlights from this year's Golden Shears.
Gentlemen, sit in your seats, but be on the edge, because here we come for the 2015 Golden Shears Open Final. Timekeeper is right. Judge is right. Competitors, go! Into it right away, we're thumping hard. 4 seconds gone, and the belly's off for Dion King up here in the front stand. Troy Piper says, well, I've been smoking all week, and I'm going to go hard and cool as a cucumber. He steps up the neck. Nathan Stratford, the quick hand around the back of the head, and Gavin Much on stand number 4 into the long blow. He pumps up the neck and around the back of the head for Muzzer Henderson on 5, and down on stand number 6, Aaron Haynes from Fielding. He was quick in the semi-finals as well. Who is it going to be? Get the drop. 40 seconds gone down the last side. Dion King. No, it's going to be Stratford. Dion King. 47 seconds.
Go, get in there, Troy Piper, get in there, Stratty. That's the start we want, mate. Those couple Invercargill boys. Troy, just give it everything you got. You've got a big motor in there. Get her started and let her rip. And so he does 1-2 up the undermine. The Stratosphere, even at 40 years of age, he's getting quicker, this boy, and he's got the job with him. He will be desperate for this win. Absolutely desperate. He's been up there 5 times before. It's an open field. Anybody can take this baby out, I can tell you that. There will not be a single person up there that will dominate this final. Gavin Much onto the last shoulder. Henderson up the neck, he goes. He says this is a lot of fun. Let's get into this. Let's show off for a while. Haynes does the same thing onto the last shoulder, but it's Dion King. It's Nate Troy Piper.
Oh, the Piper, he's saying.
It's a shame we can't see the sheep's eye view of that particular competition, but thanks to a tourism group in Japan, we can get a cat's eye view of the city of Onomichi. So we're going to go to this now, something that you could spend some of your extra time during this long weekend doing. It's actually amazing. Now, the connection between tourism to Onomichi, which is under the tourism board of the region of Hiroshima, how they think that this cat street view is going to pull more people into their town, I'm not quite sure. It definitely pulled me in, though, and I spent all sorts of time just kind of wandering around the streets as a cat. The mouse cursor even becomes a cat paw. Okay, so we're going to skip that, and we're going to wander from a cat's perspective. There's all these helpful icons on this cat street view, and when it comes into view, I will explain what those icons are. Okay, so here we are in Onomichi, getting a cat's eye view of everything, and here's those icons I was telling you about. The blue ones are shops. So we will stroll through the street here as if we were a cat. Now, I don't speak Japanese, don't read Japanese. I really can't tell you what these particular shops are for. One thing, though, that I did kind of decide as I was strolling around as a cat through Onomichi for a while yesterday was that a cat's world is, perilous. There's all sorts of stuff to deal with for these cats. So you can wander through, check out these shops. Again, not quite sure why. I don't know if there's some sort of particular tourist connection, or maybe they're looking for cat tourists. Maybe that's the whole reason for this. They're trying to boost cat tourism, not necessarily people tourism. And one other example as to how or why they might be trying to increase cat tourism is seen in these orange icons here. So the orange icons, it looks like kind of like the outline of a cat's head, and then this like other little cat shows up. That's not our cat. That's some other cat. So we will see if we're able to find this cat friend anywhere. But, and not to offend any cat lovers out there, cats are notoriously unpredictable. Oh, no. There we go. There we go. So you can click on that icon and we get to see the friend that we visited. There's a lovely description here in Japanese, but once again, I speak neither Japanese nor cat, much less Japanese cat, so I really have no idea what it says. But you got your little cat profile, and there's more cats that you can go and visit in other areas of Onimichi. Now, my hope, oh, I heard a meow, the cat must be home. I hope that once they finish expanding this particular area with this cat's eye view, that they give us what we're really wanting and needing, which is like a Pokemon eye view of different areas of Japan, because that would be amazing. So here's another one of our cat friends and their cat profiles. So I've given you quite a few things that you could spend some time exploring over this long weekend. I'm going to try to have another edition of Quotes of the Week up and ready for you next week, but at some point I'm going to need to get a job, or if not a job, I'm going to need to get a sponsor for Quotes of the Week. I don't know how necessarily I'm going to go about doing that. Excuse me, throat's dry. If there's only some way we can perhaps convince a company that maybe they could get some advertising revenue from us if they sponsor the show, I don't know. I'll have to keep thinking about that, because the yacht is in need of fuel money all the time. So that's a constant struggle. So I will keep trying to figure that out. You have a good long weekend. Enjoy the extra day off, and I'll try to see you here again next week for another edition of Quotes of the Week.